Hello, this is Lisa Russick with the podcast We're All Psychic, and it's the third podcast recorded today, guys. Woo, woo, woo. And it's a video on Spotify and YouTube. Guess who we have? We have the third guest, and her name is Brittany. Brittany, would you like to say hello?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Anything else, Brittany?
I'm
I
an
feel like you had something to
astrologer.
say.
But I am an astrologer. I'm a coach. I'm a little bit psychic. I also do tarot readings. So I'm happy to be here with Lisa.
There we go. We got some background info on this one. And now I'd love to ask you, you think we're all psychic?
Yeah, I do. I do think that everyone, just like we're all a little bit creative as humans, I think we all have access to these psychic senses that
Yeah.
for some of us are more developed or more prominent. And I think just like creativity or artistic talent, like people are born with different aptitudes for different things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then I think you have to develop the skills too to be able to
Yeah.
work with it.
I do too. I believe practice is essential, because I mean, I did have a lot of the experiences I've heard about on the podcast, but as a child, but most of the time I was just wishing I were psychic and I learned about it. I really
Mhm.
dove into it, but a lot of things happened that caused me to dive into it, and especially the self-improvement aspect of it. Um, to do the readings was just wow. It was so exciting and fun. I loved getting into those deep conversations you get into with people.
Mhm. Mhm.
And psychic is different for everybody. That's my picture of psychic was what it ended up being. So, you get in these deep conversations and you go deep, and you figure out stuff and you maybe get to a good direction.
Mhm.
And like I never had this idea, even though I'd never been to a psychic, I never had this idea that it was going to be like a crystal ball and dark lights or anything. I thought it would be cool, like something I could, like a therapist, a good one.
Yeah.
It's kind of my goal, like looking for a psychic even is someone who can really talk to is and I can repeat myself to, and they don't like sometimes I have clients who do that too. They want to say the same thing a lot because it's hard to get out, first of all, and they can say it to someone and they
Mhm.
can say it to anyone else sometimes.
Yeah. Clients sometimes will tell you things they would definitely not tell people they're close to. So,
But she
yeah.
has Brittany, you've got a huge range, but we listeners and watchers, we did narrow it down to a lovely topic. You guys,
Yeah.
would you like to tell them about it?
We were going to talk about the astrology of Neptune and Aries because Neptune just moved into Aries March 30th of this year, and it's a 14-year transit. We'll go back into Pisces for a little bit, but now we're seeing what it's like in Aries, and it's very different.
Yes, it is very different. So again, I can't wait for you to expand on this. Listeners and watchers, I know you can't either. So yes, go have the stand and keep my mouth shut and
Okay.
go
Yeah.
with yourself. I
On a
will interrupt
monologue on,
sometimes, I hate to tell
on
you, as you figured out.
Yeah, so Neptune was in Pisces since about 2011. And Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. Like traditional astrologers would place Jupiter in that rulership, but modern astrologers, once Neptune was discovered, found a lot of similarities between Neptune and Pisces. Neptune being kind of the planet of compassion and empathy and artistic creativity and spirituality, and Pisces resonating with all of these things. So basically, when Neptune was in the sign of Pisces, it was really resonating. It was like this extra profound, kind of intense, like spiritual, creative time of like
Oh,
oneness and
wow.
compassion. I
Yeah.
think of like 2011, there were many other things going on astrologically and otherwise, but that's kind of when smartphones reached a tipping point and we started to become more connected through social media, right? So
Yeah.
now you
I,
have this like connection and oneness kind of developing globally as Neptune moves through Pisces. And there are other things happening that are related to like tech and electronics and stuff. But one of the things that was happening was this development of compassion and connection with people who are across the globe. So now when there's a tsunami, across the globe from you, you're feeling compassion for those people like in the same time frame. Like
Yeah,
and
you're
and
seeing images and that you can't help but feel the empathy, especially from images,
right.
audio, or anything. Other senses tapping in, to the reality of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those years when we had Neptune and Pisces, we really developed this kind of global connection and oneness and compassion. I also saw, just because I am an astrologer and I'm sure other like psychics and tarot readers and people felt this too, this resurgence of interest in astrology, where now you had like Instagram astrologers and like all of this interest.
Yeah.
Now everyone has an app. They all know like their sun, moon, and
They're
rising.
interested in
It's like,
exploring themselves and that guy
yeah.
or that girl, that person. They're going to give that
Yeah,
person bad
exactly. And that person I'm
figure it
interested
out.
in. What's your birth type?
But they
Um,
end up reading their own stuff more, I bet, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Everyone's interested in like in this spiritual subjects, right? And like
Yeah.
witchcraft got really popular for a minute and like tarot readings and now we're used to it. Like it's normal to like scroll
I
through
love that.
the tarot readers and stuff. But like when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, like with no, there wasn't, first of all, the internet came when I was like 12 and that was new and we we had a long way to go. But like you had to go to, the Borders bookstore like an hour away to get like a book on astrology or something. So it was like very different. You didn't have this like um this kind of collective interest in it at the same level
It's
that we do
everywhere
right
now. It's everywhere.
now. And I think Neptune and Pisces like really amplified that, like really like
Right. I think you're right. That's a
pushed
great
everyone in this cosmic ocean of like oneness and spirituality that like now we're kind of used to it, but it
point.
wasn't like that before 2011.
I will
So
totally relate to that. And I even started working in the field in 2000, late end of 2010, beginning of 2011.
yeah,
And
a lot of
then
people did.
I left in 2013, 14 or something. Always stayed in it and locally, like with
Hmm.
local clients. And then 2018 up till now, I've like really been into it, but I'm feeling a pull that there's something else. And I'm going to always do this, but there's something else I'm going to be doing too. I've got a lot of time right now to start working on something. I'm not sure what I want to work on because I have a lot of hobbies. Thank
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I
you.
think
That's
that
really
Neptune and
curious.
Aries shift. So yeah, just to give some background on like where we were and then what shifted on March 30th. So like in the next 14 years, these Neptune transits are really long. So these are like kind of collective experience.
Yeah.
But depending on your chart, like where you'll feel it somewhere,
I'm a
and
Taurus sun, and my Neptune, I believe, is in the fifth house,
uh-huh.
and Scorpio. No, that's Uranus. Neptune is in the fourth house, I believe. Let me pull it up real quick if you want to. I'll pull it up, and
Yeah, sure.
I've got my little doopy doopy doop. Right, we've done this on the podcast
You've
a
got
few
your
times.
apps.
I should
Yeah.
have it ready. I should have it all ready because, like, I
Okay.
I have it right. One, two, three. Neptune in it is in the fifth house in Sagittarius at 11 degrees.
Okay.
And
Yes,
it's
we'll be having like a trine, a friendly aspect from the Neptune and Aries to
in
your
opposition to Venus.
like your natal Neptune is in opposition to Venus. Okay. So yeah, like there's some kind of creative thing that could come through there for you with Neptune and Aries. It's like you're feeling this sense of like creation. So,
Aries, and yeah, I have
uh,
Jupiter in Aries too.
yeah.
In
Yeah.
the 10th house. So it's career related, is what I've
Okay.
been
So career
feeling. That's
related,
what I've been
like
feeling. And it's Taurus says anyway, a lot of times, like lately. That we're at the end of like a lot of these bigger, like longer transits, we're supposed to figure out what we want to do with ourselves.
yeah, and so we're right in between because we've just ended the Pisces transit and started the Aries one March 30th.
Okay, okay,
And then Neptune will go back into Pisces for a bit, like in September.
okay.
So we're getting like a little preview. What's the next 14 years or so going to be like with Neptune and Aries?
How long will it be back
Yeah,
in
I have
Pisces?
my notes up here. So let me just pull up the slide so I can look at it. So 2025, 2026. And the Neptune will be March, let's see, March 30th through October 22nd of 2025.
Okay.
And and then it will be did I have that in my notes? Sorry. In 2026 it will go back into Aries, but I will have to kind of pull that up.
That's fine. I was just curious how long, if it would be a long time or just a few weeks. So that's a long time to
It's a
me.
few months because
Yeah.
yeah, these planets move really slowly, these outer planets. So um if I'm looking at Neptune and Pisces, January, Neptune will be back into Aries in February of 2026.
Okay. Okay.
So it will just be
Really
a few
like
months that
that.
we wrap it up and then go into our next phase. And then Neptune will be there through about 20 to 38 and then start like doing its little dance into Taurus.
Okay.
Um, so this feeling of the shift, like so Neptune in Pisces, we had this global kind of compassion, we had this connection, we had this resurgence of interest in like the spiritual esoteric subjects.
Yeah.
And as soon as Neptune went into Aries, I started noticing people like dropping truth bombs like immediately. It was like,
But they
oh,
are truth bombs. I love those.
yeah. Just on social media, like, and everyone's always fighting on social media. That's not new, but I noticed that the spiritual people are really coming out with teeth and claws about their opinions, right? And like, this is a very like Aries thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like very Aries to like be opinionated, to have a truth to say, to like want to kind of want to fight about something, like to like start fights. And I just noticed all these spiritual people going off on like threads like around March 30th and 31st, and Neptune had just gone into Aries. So it's like we've collectively kind of like found this place where we're all kind of talking about the same things. We all know our sun, moon, rising. Like, I mean, not obviously not everybody on Earth, but many more people than were
Right.
connected about it before.
Yeah.
And now we're going to start seeing a lot more opinions about like this is the right way to do it. This is
Oh
my
yeah,
way
you're
of doing
right.
it. This is I have a new
My
way
way's
to
right.
do
My
it.
way's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a
Way's right.
new
And I
way of
learned
reading
from.
tarot. I also think that Neptune in Aries can be very like highly creative in a different way, like more kind of entrepreneurial
I
creative.
was thinking like driving through stuff, like getting through the hard times. Pisces
Yeah,
is kind of like lay around in it, you know. Feels
yeah.
good in this water, you know.
And also kind of foggy, kind of like
Yep.
confusing. So like,
Foggy. Yeah.
yeah, there's a little more clarity with Neptune and Aries. And I was thinking about Neptune being kind of fantasy and Aries being fire, and I'm thinking like, well, dragons are like fire fantasy, you know,
Right.
or like
Yeah.
the esoteric kind of idea of like the fire spirits being called salamanders, right? Like they're kind of dragon-like or they're spirits of the
Yeah.
flame.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being able to kind of create or do magic with these kinds of like
Oh, so now we're going to implement everything we've been learning, you think?
yeah, exactly. We've
Mhm.
been through this kind of like cosmic like swirl of information, but now it's like there's clarity, there's more like like fire transformation creation happening with Neptune there. There's also historical implications because Neptune's been in Aries before. And so we've seen that like last time Neptune was in Aries was it 1865? And that, 1861 through 1875. So during the Victorian era, we saw a lot of the rise of spiritualism in the United
Mhm.
States.
We
Uh,
sure, yeah.
yeah, we were in, we started the Civil War. That was a big one. And we can see those echoes now. And also the Reconstruction. And you also had like really interesting Neptunian inventions in art. Like Impressionism went public when Neptune was in Aries. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was published when Neptune was in Aries. You had these kind of like fantastic new or Neptunian kind of art developments during that time.
Yeah.
So like I think that Neptune and Aries, like it can be because Aries can be like warlike or competitive, right? There can be kind of these divisions or these like it's almost like this confusion separating people, right? That has seems to coincide with civil war in different countries and
Right.
really with the US aspects right now. We've also been in culture wars for a long time. So war doesn't have to mean, like
Well, it seems like as far back as our history goes, it was
yeah,
culture wars. It was
right. These
based
culture
on
wars, like,
religion or culture, one or the other. Yeah.
right. So there's like this resurgence of that kind of different people's different beliefs or separations around
Yeah.
um, their or fights for independence in different ways. But then also this enormous kind of creative, fantastic like invention that
Yeah.
can come out of it too. And so I thought that was really interesting. It'll be interesting to see what people create with Neptune in Aries, but it's definitely a different vibe. Like it's
Almost
definitely a
feeling like the mad
like
alchemist just gets
feeling.
his tools all of a sudden after he's been brewing up ideas.
Yeah.
He's got $1 zillion and bought his cauldron and his herbs and his, metals, and he's gonna melt stuff. And the
Yeah.
alchemist is ready to go now, and he doesn't know what he's doing. It's the Aries myth. Yeah, we'll just dive in and figure
We're
it
just
out.
gonna start. Yeah. Like
That's what it
over.
feels like is happening,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
No, totally. But yeah, you can take all those like herbs and oils and potions that you got during the Neptune and Pisces era and like start to like do something with it. Um, yeah, I think it'll be a really, really interesting transit for, and depends, of course, on the individual. Like I do chart readings for people, and some people are like, thank God Neptune moved off my sun or whatever out of that house and into this house, and then the Aries people are like, who am I? So it's, it'll treat different people differently, but collectively, it's where we've shifted,
Yeah.
into the next era for our
It,
beliefs, for our
I can feel
compassion.
it change, and you can see it in our time with the technology. What AI has done already is amazing. It's
Yeah,
revolutionizing it's changing the world already. How things are
absolutely.
done, jobs, and everything. And it's just I'm just like amazed by that. That's a huge implementation of somebody's fantasy.
Yeah, yeah, and Neptune will make that sextile aspect to Pluto and Aquarius, which I would attribute a lot of the AI revolution to that Pluto
Yeah,
and Aquarius transit. That
yeah.
is
I bet you're right. I bet
huge.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like really
Wow.
revolutionizing and kind of like an old way of being kind of dying, like an old way of society being dying, and a rebirth into this
Yeah.
new kind of like technological age.
Yeah,
Uh,
we are gonna live in like a Star Trek age where we don't have to work and we just do what we want. Wouldn't that be awesome?
yeah, I really believe that like the transits can be whatever we want them to be depending on the
Mm,
choices that we make. And that's why like I love to do when I do coaching, like work with the astrology to manifest the vision that you desire. So
yeah.
actually doing like a group kind of spell ritual for Neptune and Aries at the end of April that's online. It's like free or donation based.
Okay.
And we're just gonna try to like call in the influences of Neptune and Aries that we actually want, and like what we want it to be for us, and for the collective, so that we could make it like that wonderful age you said where we don't have to work and like, like
Yes, I know. I'd love that
yeah,
wonderful age to never end either.
kind of
But
been
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking also like for me, I do have Chiron in Aries and Jupiter in Aries. So that's the
Mhm.
Rinse in Aries and in the 10th house. So it's all, and my Taurus is in the 10th house. And my sun is in the 10th house in Taurus. So
Okay.
like I've never been satisfied with just one career. I've always wanted a few.
Hmm.
And I really think that Neptune's had a lot of influence for me being in that fifth house because everything changes because of my spiritual beliefs in my life. Every time something big changes because I'm improving myself because of my spiritual beliefs. Because that's
Hmm.
I believe because of the psychic side of myself and knowing the things I have learned that I can acquire I have the skills to acquire information. And information is just as subjective, in my opinion. The only thing I will ever know is what I'm feeling.
Hmm.
My opinion, I won't know anything. I'll just get some right now information. So and so, I think, is feeling this way, and they're probably upset about this, and most likely they are going to do this. Is kind of how I feel like a reading. That's the best I can do, you know. As far as accuracy, because I don't know anything. I don't feel like except what's going on in here and in here. Otherwise, I can't, and people can lie right to my face and I will not know it. It's so easy for people to lie to me. And
Hmm.
I don't know what that, but it's because I believe them in the moment, I think is why they're believing their lie. Not everybody, but a lot of people can, you
Hmm.
know. But this is very interesting to me because I love this idea of Aries being a time because I have no motivation right now. So I'm thinking as this time picks up for me, maybe
Hmm.
because of all this Chiron and Aries issue, and I'm about to turn 50 on April 30th.
Okay. So
So
you're
that's
Chiron
also
return.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it's been a harder time for me. So I'm hoping with this transit being as long as it will be, I'll get that motivation back to really just start kicking my work's butt. I've been
Yeah.
tired, sick, and stuff like that. It's been hard to really get motivated to do stuff. But I'm feeling like a little shift in that, but not a big, huge one yet.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to Neptune being in a Mars ruled sign. Like
Is
it
it?
is kind of like a lower energy sometimes at first. Like there's
Well, that's
this,
when I was younger.
yeah, wanting to kind of like sleep more, rest more, less drive,
Definitely.
which is foreign for Aries.
Yeah,
Also incredibly important for any kind of creativity to be able to have that rest state so your mind can play.
that's my
Um,
best times. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the Chiron stuff, like timing is everything, and you have to do that kind of healing and wisdom work first, probably,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get to the
I
next
really, when
level.
I was younger, I was very creative. I loved music. I was a musician. I like songwriting. I still
Mhm.
do that, and I still do. And writing was my favorite. And I did a lot of writing. I was a ghostwriter for a long time,
Mhm.
and I've really found that it's been hard to stick with one thing altogether all my life. It's
Yeah.
okay,
And
fine.
why would you need to?
Don't
Yeah.
need to, yeah. But I'm really wondering though if this is the shift. This is like the shift I really need in my life to like is an example of the opportunity I have here
Mhm.
to kind of like get my like a lot of times I'm like when I was younger I'd walk and I'd look down because I can't like I'm always afraid I'm going to trip over my feet, which I do because my joints are loose.
Mhm.
And so I just walk down to make sure I'm not going to fall. And I learned not to do that because everyone made assumptions about what I was doing that for. So I just learned to look upright and kind of glance down a lot and make sure I'm not, and I sometimes just fall because my joint goes out, and it's, but um, I guess that what I'm trying to say is that what I did learn through that, like in a way in that period is that I don't have to keep hiding the psychic side. When I first started working as a psychic, I had to walk with my head down metaphorically in Alabama
Mhm.
in 2010 as a professional psychic. And
Mhm.
then I walked out of Alabama the 2024 and I didn't have to walk out with my head hung, it was fine. I had an office in town, whereas I used to be told you can't do that, they're going to
Oh,
run you out, and stuff like
kind of
that.
had
The agents would tell me
like
that.
marginalized. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's a threat to the churches
Right. Yeah.
and the state and what they believe in and everything. Is just a real big threat back then, but not anymore because their kids are doing it, and the moms are
Right.
and the fathers are finally like, okay, go ahead,
Mhm.
doing it anyway.
Yeah, that's the change.
Yeah, it's a different.
Changing.
Yeah, it is changing. It is. It's huge.
Yeah.
So what else do you think is going to happen?
Oh my God. There's so many things happening in
It's a couple more
2025. It's
bones.
like,
You can come back and tell us more if you want.
sure. Um, yeah, 2025 is a very liminal year. It's very like we're shifting in between like the old and the new. And 2026 is similar. So for this year and the next year, um, it's a wonderful time to be making changes in your life because everything's shifting anyway. So like go for it, you know?
Yes,
And everyone's feeling the impact of these big outer planet shifts in 2025 that
it is
so
weird how
many
you
planets are
feel.
changing signs. Yeah. And you mentioned, I think before we started recording, you were like, everything's direct now. And I was like, yes, like
I've read that, and it
I
does
could
feel
feel
free
it.
up something. Like I'm not worrying about stuff so much.
Yes. Oh my God, I
That's
felt so
heavy.
free after Venus went direct. I was like, thank God.
That one was rough. I even
Yeah.
did a podcast about Venus retrograde, and I don't do astrology podcasts, but I did one on that because it was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with Mercury retrograde at the same time, and just the fact that
Yes.
like Mars had already been retrograde, like for the first part of the year. And so like this whole, if people listening don't know, like the whole winter through this spring until like just a couple days ago, like something was retrograde, right? And now we
Retrograde is when it goes. It looks like it's going backwards in the sky. Watch your listeners.
okay.
You didn't know that. It isn't actually. It just looks that way. Yeah.
And things related to that planet slow down, and it's more introspective and reflective. And sometimes with Mercury retrograde, which we just had, technology gets screwy. And really, like the reason we have such a hard time with it is because we're always kind of trying to move forward and make this linear progression. But time is actually more of a spiral. So, it's just our society is not set up to spiral. So we end up like spiraling in our heads, like instead.
Right. We did
Uh,
that. Well, our generation has always done that. We had no
yeah.
choice. We're boxed in by our generations around us. We just do it in our heads. In.
Yeah. So anyway, everything was retrograde, so it all felt just a little harder than it needed to be. And then
Yeah.
when Venus went direct, now everything's direct until May 4th, I think. And then the planets that go retro, honestly, like the outer planets are retrograde for like 6 months of the year, so I don't worry about it too
Yeah.
much.
No.
Things are like a little more direct motion through 2025. However, everything's changing signs like crazy. I mean, Neptune went into Aries, Saturn will go into Aries and meet Neptune, Pluto's in Aquarius now. Uranus is going from Taurus to Gemini, and Jupiter's moving from Gemini to Cancer, which does happen every year. There's just a lot of other things happening. So we've got all these like big planet shifts that are happening, and it's shifting your life too. It's shifting like where you were focused on your life to like another area of life. It's shifting like where there were problems. Now you're a little more free. Maybe there are different problems over here, but like life has changed. And we have to kind of figure out what to do with this kind of in-betweenness and where we want to
Yeah.
go from here. Because again, I do really think it's up to us where we're going to go.
Yeah.
What do I think is going to happen? I think that things do get more intense with Neptune and Saturn together all year in
Yeah.
Pisces.
That's what I was thinking about too. In Aries,
Uh, it's kind of like the Neptune Saturn conjunctions, like borders get broken down, new things get built, but it's sort of like a rearrangement of borders and boundaries in
okay.
different parts of life, in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
um, Uranus and Gemini with Pluto and Aquarius, I think we are in this real acceleration of technology where like AI really um it had already been there. Like I could automate things with Zapier like years
Yeah.
ago.
You
Right.
can't. You
But it
didn't let
wasn't
us. We're
generative.
communicating with them like they let us now. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like ChatGPT, which came out the first time Pluto went into Aquarius in 2023. Like that became public, and that was like a huge like mind blown for a lot of people, right? And so then there was this explosion of generative AI. Like I think when Uranus goes into Gemini in July, like we get even more kind of like acceleration of technology.
It's exciting. Yeah.
At least like as we're aware of it, because of course these things are always happening behind the scenes. But like I think that Pluto and Aquarius, like real significant advances in science and health and technology.
Yeah.
Uh, we want these to be good things for the people. We're also very much in death rebirth like timeline right now, like where the old things are not going to be anymore, and we have to kind of recreate what we want to be as a society. I think globally, not just like in our country, but in the US, it's very significant the way that things are interacting with the United States chart. All
Right.
kinds of different returns happening. So yeah, I think things are just very intense right now, and it's not going to get less intense like collectively, but individually you have these shifts and changes happening that for like I have a lot of mutability in my chart. Like I'm like kind of adaptable. For someone like that, like it can be exciting and fun. For
Yeah.
someone who's like more fixed, it might be like, what the heck is happening?
Yeah.
But like it's if you can roll with it, it's gonna take us into a different era. And we do need to kind of direct where we want to go with that.
I feel like we can, and we're given more of that, like an option that we're realizing that we have a lot. That's one of the things shifting, especially women. And I don't know about that about men. Maybe they've always felt that way. I don't know, but a
Mhm.
lot of women I know feel like I can see them feeling more empowered to take control of their lives in the South, especially.
Good. Yeah.
And maybe it's just because it's the age I'm at. The kids are growing and gone, and they're finally
Yeah.
like, well, I guess I can do this on my own, or if they want to, if they
Mhm.
wanted to begin with. And it's just been that situation, which a lot of people I know, not just in the South, everywhere, women had to take less money. They had to stay home and take care of the kids if they wanted to.
Sure.
It's
Everywhere.
really hard
Yeah.
to work a job and take care of children. It's just like some
Mhm.
people do it, but it's really hard. Um, and I feel like the women in our generation, especially, and the women beneath, the women coming up from what we've taught them and they're teaching their kids.
Mhm.
I just see a lot of people like when I took one of my stepsons to college a few years back, he decided not to go, but the whole campus, 80% was women, I mean, just like we have this opportunity, to really be seen as equals and not seen as women, just women, or in that way, just women. We're seen as maybe a woman, but not just woman. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
inferior. It's just like there's a blurring there kind of happening. I think in some ways, professionally in the professional spheres, because the
Yeah.
women don't want to work.
Yeah, I see a lot of people potentially awakening in the next couple of years. A lot of awakening happening, especially with Uranus is moving into the Gemini in July and
Have more
um,
time
the
too, because
Pluto
AI is doing
retrograde.
everything. People have more time, like they did at COVID when it first happened, to examine themselves and look at their spiritual selves and notice the work
Yeah,
happening around.
right. And it is like I do think 2025 is similar to 2020 in terms of like the shifts happening. And just reading the news and you're like, "Oh, that's happening now. Oh, now this is happening." Like how do I keep up? But like there's this a lot of people made big life changes in 2020, it was really hard year for some people. For some people, they're like, actually, that was kind of a good year for me. Like they feel kind of like guilty about it, but also like when they changed careers or moved, like I moved and started a family. It just happened that way. And so like 2025 is similar in the sense that like there's room to make these big changes.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And so many people in 2020 to 2021 who I've met on the podcast had started, exploring the professional side of this kind of work.
totally. Yeah, it was a big time for like online business
Yeah.
or starting something new, just going for it. Yeah.
Same. It's coming back again, is what it feels like. The work's coming back more. People are
Mhm.
reinterested, but the world's not. I mean, it's still in a devastation to me. I feel bad for places with the a lot of things happening
Sure.
in the world, but there's so many good things in also happening. Like for me, the idea that people can explore their own spirituality without having to think about someone else other than their connection with their whatever,
Mhm.
their power, their God, their whatever they believe in, or themselves. Whatever it is, as long as they have that connection, and if it brings them love and happiness, and they're not going to hurt anybody, that's what I aim for. For them, if I would hope for something for the world in general, because people feeling that way aren't going to start wars usually. They're
Right.
find a more an easy solution that nobody fights over, so everybody can agree with anyway. I think that's what we're heading for at the end of this transit. I hope anyway, because we'll be going into Taurus. It'll be if at that time Neptune is going into Taurus, or is it going into? I guess it'll be going into Taurus. That would be
Taurus.
like the whole new building of was what we've thrown into the alchemy fires for the last 14
Yeah,
years. Yeah,
totally. You're good at this.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm learning. I'm
Yeah.
learning through people like you teaching me on
Mhm.
this podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people like as it becomes more accepted, as you were talking about, like Alabama, like people are more willing to go to a psychic astrologer or tarot reader and
Yeah.
ask questions, and it does lead to introspection, and it's not gate kept in the same way that like religion, you may need some higher person or power to tell you what to do. It's much more self-directed, and so
Yeah.
therefore more accessible to people.
And I feel that that's good for women in general, because a lot of us have been told still to this day, we don't have the power we do. We don't have as much power as some people do for whatever reason, but not men. They aren't told that, about anything really,
Sure.
that I hear anyway.
It can be a tool for confidence too,
Yeah.
for empowerment. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Hmm.
it would be, as women naturally we tend to be like Misty, my old co-host, one time said, we just want to nurture every gosh darn thing, like take care of it, nurture it.
Yeah.
But yes, we do. We want to make it grow and nurture it. Women in general do. The feminine energy does. And I love that it's okay now for us to do that. Kind of okay, but it's always been just kind of looked down on to have that soft side and want to do those things, you know. To
Mhm.
be a stay-at-home mom was at one time looked down upon, you know, by like a lot of people I knew, you know. She's just a stay-at-home mom. So like, whoa, you have no idea how much that takes, you know. You know.
Yeah, it's so hard. Um,
Yes.
yes. Yeah, I think there's like a little more understanding that people really are doing a lot when they're staying at home as moms, and that there's different choices to be had, and hopefully more parity for women economically, where there could be like
Yes.
universal daycare and just more supports for parental leave, for example, for
Yeah.
that
Yeah, that'd
don't
be
want
really
to
cool.
work, they can, and
Yeah.
like that everyone's supported.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah.
Because the problem with being a stay-at-home mom, of course, is like it is hard work, and it also you take a financial hit if you're not
You
working. So
do. And you take a social hit kind of because you're only communicating with
more
people
isolated.
5 years old, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've done both. I've worked and been staying at home, and it's both hard. So
It is. It is.
easy. They're
Yeah.
really,
Can be. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but I think yeah, I would love to see more equality for women and just more empowerment. And I do think that we see as society shifts, those changes are definitely they
Perhaps
have been
in
happening, and
the
they
younger
can't really be
generations, I
held
see.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Really cool. So do you see anything else you want to hit us with before you
Mm.
tell us where we may be able to stalk you
Oh,
for more information about astrology and
yeah.
anything else?
We're between eclipse seasons, so we had a wild March. I'm sure everyone remembers their own March experiences, but we had, the Venus retrograde and the Mercury retrograde and all the eclipses and then Neptune moving into Aries. It was just like we're getting pummeled with a lot of different changes at once. So now that we're kind of in the summer, we're between eclipse seasons. It's that time to integrate. Like we just finished this whole Aries Libra cycle that was about the self and the other. And we're moving into this Pisces Virgo cycle that, it depends on your chart, like how it affects you, but it's going to be more about um, like healing and endings and like new beginnings. So that Aries Libra cycle for a lot of people I've heard from was intense for relationships, was intense for their relationship to their self. And some that like two year kind of like since April 2023 to April 2025, that whole cycle has just kind of come to a close. And so you've closed out a little cycle, and you have until September to kind of start another eclipse cycle. I mean, they're always ongoing, but like September
Okay.
will be the next set. And so that's, we're integrating those Venus lessons from the retrograde, everything about relationships. We're kind of taking that forward into September, and then kind of like starting something completely different, nurturing something new, kind of growing a different garden, And so I don't know, that's kind of a relief to be like to have closed out that cycle, I think, for a lot of
Yeah.
people. And
Yeah. By then,
everything being direct
I feel
is
there's a cycle, but I'm not sure what it is. But I'm looking for
yeah,
pinning it down. It's me. It's some me issue, but I haven't quite pinned it down yet.
right. Feel like the integration period of the 6 months or so too.
Yeah.
But I think that like now that we've closed that out and things are direct, we start to see a little more like movement and maybe a little more freedom come in the
Yeah.
coming months. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of nice to feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, there is a feel. That's so interesting about that because I never noticed changes too much in. I noticed changes in my energy levels. I don't know how
Mhm.
else to put it. Like my general energy levels, psychic, emotional, mental, physical, all the energy levels
Yeah,
in certain moon cycles. But sometimes people can be amped, and I'm like this last full moon, I was just sleeping. I could not stop sleeping. And
totally.
and other people are like, I can't stop. Most of the time when it's a full moon, I'm up. I'm awake. But
Mhm.
and for 2 days beforehand and the day of, I just was sleeping and sleeping and sleeping. And but this changes and these changes in the astrology, I've really been able to like read about and say, I feel that, like in the energy, this energy way out here doing something that I can't, not I can control it and manipulate it and work with it or whatever. But
Mhm.
there is something else kind of like influencing. other than just what I perceive, and that's kind of like another little confirmation that there's some kind of intelligent design, because I've always been on the fence, but I do believe there's a creator of some sort, maybe more than one. But I
Mhm.
didn't used to believe that, except during this podcast, kind of, I got my belief systems change a lot. But
Mhm.
astrology has been a really good thing for me to learn about because it gives me words to explain what I have experienced in a way. You know,
Yeah, you're picking up on those energetic currents that are kind of affecting you and others.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. And it's like I never really noticed them before until this one's been really a whopper, energetically. The in last
Yeah, totally. I don't blame you for needing to sleep and integrate because it has
hour
been
of I think tonight.
energetically a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking about like the Libra full moon, like my son was sick and then I was sick. It's like we kind of
Yes,
had to have this rest period to like heal.
yes.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening on the outside. Sometimes in here, there's a lot going on. You never know. Listeners
Totally.
happening to you.
Right.
Where can people find you, Brittany? If they want to like get a reading from you or find out more about you? Do you have a website? Where do you work? Where can we find you?
Yeah, my website is my name. So it's brittanypastuhov.com. I have a podcast also called Third House Podcast where I forecast astrology. It's on YouTube, it's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So you can find me at my website or there. And then pretty much brittany.pastuhov on any social media network. So I'm on Instagram there too. People can find me there.
And
And
I'll put all her and I'll
Mhm.
put all her info that you'll ever want to know that she wants you to anyway in
Yeah.
the description of the podcast too.
Okay,
Is there
perfect.
anything else? I talked over you there for a minute. I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to add.
No, that's where people can find me. I have some different offers for April. I'm always offering different kind of like free and low cost mini offers and astrology and coaching.
That's
So
I
I would
love.
love to see people there.
Yeah, okay, yeah, guys, check her out. We talked for a little bit before the podcast, and it's like almost been an hour now. And
Yeah,
this is the
I know that
third
went fast.
podcast I've done today. So I'm like, wow, you really had me talking. This is a very interesting subject to me. Obviously, I love it. And you're a very great talker, a great speaker. Thank you so much
Oh,
for coming on
thank you.
the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Lisa. I know that hour went by really fast, so thank you for spending time with me on your third
It probably
thing.
if I could still pick your brain, I'm almost like, man, our listeners, well, they wouldn't get bored. They'd probably still listen. But
It's
just in case, we'll have to have you back. Next
yeah,
big transits, next big transits.
sure.
And for now, I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app where you can get advice from psychics and empaths so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. Everclear.com, or it's called Everclear Advice app on their on the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. And I am an advisor on there, and they just changed my name from Lisa P to my real name, Lisa Russick. So you can find me under Lisa Russick on that app now. And lastly, let's find some advice. You've covered so many things. So let's say there are a lot of listeners probably who did understand like a lot of things you said about the astrology energy, the astrology weather.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's influenced their lives. I'm sure, a lot of people listening, especially if they're listening to an astrology podcast, are like, what happened? Usually, or what happened? So, let's say there's someone listening who is I feel like asking this, someone who's just learning astrology. And I love how you talked about astrology and you kind of backtrack a little bit to explain what you were talking about a lot of the time. What do
Mhm.
you think as someone who's probably at like a beginner's level, like they know their houses, they know their signs, they know the relations between the two, they know the house rulers and the exaltations and stuff like that. Maybe they know the facts.
Mhm.
What would you tell them? How would you say to integrate their intuition into their astrology
Oh,
reading?
such a good question. Okay. I didn't know that where you were going with that, but yeah. Yeah, you have you've learned like the basics of astrology, which I think even like knowing exaltations or is more than basic, but you have the information. How do you integrate your intuition? By allowing yourself to say the thing that comes to you. I think so much of astrology, like the interpretations vary so widely, right? Like you get
Absolutely. Yeah.
first house Aries, you could have someone who is like an MMA fighter, you could have an entrepreneur, you could have just a great person who's enthusiastic and enjoys being with their friends. Like it depends on the chart, right? And
Yes.
so you look to the chart to give you more nuanced information, but you also look to yourself to pick the interpretation that feels right and go with it. Like
Okay.
so many times in any kind of reading, the thing that you say that doesn't make any sense to the reader is the thing that resonates the most with the other person.
So
Some,
weird that you
if
say that.
you're like,
Too.
yeah, you're like, I don't
Right.
know why, but like something about a red hat, they'll be like, oh my God, she had a red, like it was the
Yeah.
red hat became really significant. It's
They
usually
bring
more,
it up 3 years later, and you're like, really? I don't remember that. She
yeah,
didn't have the red hat on, but something. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's usually much more specific than that. But like,
Yeah.
whatever specific thing you're saying that doesn't make any sense to you, it will make sense to the other person. And you kind of have to just learn to trust that what's coming through. I also always call in my own guides and the clients' guides before I read for them to help me make it the most accurate and helpful reading for them that it can be. And I find that that really helps too, that I'll be directed to, because you could honestly have an endless conversation, but if I have 1 hour with a client, like I'll be directed to the right topics for
Right.
that
Right.
person.
Right. Thank
Um, yeah. And so like I think it's your intuition marrying your kind of logical or knowledgeable kind of acumen. It is about having a balance. Like you do need to know what you're talking about with astrology. You need to be able to read it, the language of it. But it's about choosing what you're going to say, how you're going to say it in this particular time frame with this client, I
I love
think.
that. Yeah. So take it as it comes, then, kind of as like a
Yeah.
person, not a chart. Yeah. Yeah. Love
Yeah.
that. That's great advice. And
Okay.
this old podcast bud Gandalf, if you want to see him all like crashed
Yeah.
out on the couch, hold on, put my little thing over there. You can go see the podcast guest.
Oh.
Look at him all sack.
Okay.
This is Gandalf the Grey. The listeners love him. He's at every podcast. He's just slept and snored. He might be snoring into my microphone through this whole podcast. We'll find out when I mix it. He snores when he sleeps. It's adorable. He does. He snores. Oh, he's sweetie. So, thank you so much. And that's great advice. And I don't know where that question came from. It just kind of popped out of my mouth, and that happens a lot.
Definitely. Yeah.
I've learned to trust it.
Right.
And thank you so much again, Brittany. It's been great having you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much.
And then listeners and watchers, I love you. And Brittany, do you love the listeners and watchers?
I love you too.
You do love listeners and watchers too. Okay.
Yes.
We love you, everybody. I love Brittany. Brittany loves me. We love listeners and watchers. Happy loving party in Aries. Neptune and Aries, for some reason that's happening. I don't know. I love myself too right now. More than you love yourself.
Love yourself. Yeah.
When you love yourself, you do it this way. You take a bubble bath and then you light the candles. No, first you are on the incense. All right, no, I'm just kidding. So going back to referencing what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast.
Sure.
About how to do everything.
Yeah.
That's still tickling me.
How
I'm just thinking of different times I picked up on that here and there. It's just cracked me up.
Yeah.
Like any of us know. Maybe, yeah, someone knows. I don't know. But I know some things you don't do, but yeah, I guess you could say. And thank you, listeners. We love you and have a great time wherever you may be. Peace out. Bye.
Peace out.